Okay, we are launching another class with Sharon Hoppy. Look at this beauty. Look at this vase. Now, how did we make that? Oh, it's a flower frog on top. Oh, look at this gorgeousness. Now, get your vase made. Yes, this is hand built. A completely hand built vase. Join in the class and see how we did this. See you inside the class. We are going to have a little bit of clay fun. I have my juicy, spectacular, again, Laguna's equivalent of speckled buff. I have my banding wheel system with my hole in it. I have my riser block that also has pegs on both ends so that I can put a peg in here and then raise this up, put a peg in here, my beautiful rounded bottom signature forms. And now I can drape the clay and then I can cut along the bottom to get no edge whatsoever. And by that I mean, if I did it on a lip template, there we go. If I put it on a lip template, it's flat on my wheel, that's going to give me a little 1/4 inch, beautiful little rim. If I put it on a rim template, I'm going to get something fancy rim. If I want no rim whatsoever, I'm going to put it on here. I'm going to drape my clay and I'm going to cut it flush. So let's do that. Let me move this out of the way for a minute. Okay, so I'm taking my slab. I'm kind of dropping it down so that I can get these folds out. If you lift them up and kind of come down like that, let me see if I can get this better. If I lift up and press down, I can get these folds pretty much taken care of. See how oh, darn it. See how I'm going to lift this up and press down and get these folds. Now, the other thing that I'll want to do is I'm going to want to cut this. Okay, I'm going to cut a big part of this off. I don't want it to pull down. I don't want it, but I do want to make sure I leave myself enough to drape. I'm just, no rhyme or reason, I'm just cutting this. And then I'm going to lift this and make sure I have enough there. And I do have enough everywhere now. And so I'm going to lift it. You just have to finesse these, but they're so worth it. It's not a wham bam, thank you ma'am kind of process. And then see how much I've got it down? So what I'm going to do now is simply take my sponge, and again, I'm holding it in my fingers lightly, and it's not very wet, and I'm just kind of finessing this down. And I have no texture. When it's not going down right, I do stop, lift it out, and then go back down with it. I'm going down and becoming flat. Okay, I'm going to come around this bottom now, and I'm going to cut a bigger piece off of this. I'm making sure that I'm not cutting it too close. I just want some of this extra excess gone to help me get rid of the little, ooh, careful with your knife. You should cut away from you, not towards you. if you're anything like me. Okay, now I'm going to come back around with my sponge and just kind of smooth that out. I had a little fold there that I had to finesse. It's got a, I don't know if you can see it right here, a slight wrinkle. Slight wrinkle. But if I do this, I took that wrinkle right out of there. And now I'm just getting this down. I come down and kind of under. See how I kind of press this under? Because I'm going to cut that off. And I want it to not keep popping out. So I do kind of press it under a little bit. See how that's coming down? Now it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to kind of press this under so that then I can come around, bring my knife straight up, set it on the bottom of that form, and it does help to let it set up a bit, which I'm not doing at the moment. And make sure your knife is straight up. And notice how I'm holding with my thumb below to keep that clay down, and I'm holding on the top. And I'm just going slowly, and then I'll take some down and start over. And my knife is level with this form. And then I just cut it straight down. This is why I like to kind of go under with my clay. And then I'm just going to come around, and I do still kind of flick it under. And there I will have a bowl with no top edge. In fact, let me see if I can show this to you. See how it's just got that perfect top edge? But we have something special we're doing with this. So that is using the riser block. Again, you would want to put this clay down over this and let it sit for just a little bit after you get it compressed where you want it before you cut it, so that the clay is not quite so floppy. Would probably be a little easier. But there you have it. I'm going to let this set up, and we'll be back to see what we're going to do with this. Well, I'm back. I have my two hybrid bowls created, and I'm just kind of pressing them flat onto this just to make sure they're shaped correctly. These have set up and are drying. They're, oh, let me show you on here. They're still kind of hard, but they're not squishy. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these together. Let's use this. I'm going to score this, and I want to score it really well. And as I score it, I am kind of pressing down so I get a good, whoops, I get a good width here. A good even width across here. And now I'm going to do the other one. See, like this one is really kind of thin. It doesn't give me a good surface. So I'm kind of spreading that out a little bit, if you can see that. Get this nice and scored so that I can attach these with a nice, good bond. Now I see that's pretty thin right there. I'm actually going to stick that extra right there just to give me a little more space. And get my brush wet. And I'm going to wet this. I want this nice and soft. Squeeze out my sponge and any water that went in there. Now, I want to be double sure that this attaches well. So I'm going to actually score this crossways across here. And I'm going to do the same here. This is going to give me some extra slip. Whoops, that just fell right off. I want that back there. Okay, now that I've done that, I do want to make sure that it's wet again. All right. Now, I am going to take this, I'm going to set this on top and get this to where it's even and meets where it's supposed to meet, and press this in. Make sure this is in good all the way around. And look at this. This is the beginning. This is going to be cool. So what I want is I want my metal rib, not serrated rib. I want my metal rib to come and pull this across. And in fact, you could use, actually, you could even use a serrated rib. And sometimes that's good to go over everything with a serrated rib. Because that'll get rid of that seam also. Just going right across this. All right, seeing all that stuff is on there. Now, what I want to do, because I want this seam to be strong, I have a little powerhouse in here. What I did was I took, I want to find it. I was going to make handles on something the other day. Hold on, let me get this out of here. It's noisy. Where are you? There we go. I was going to make handles the other day. And then I decided on that project I didn't want handles. So I took what was going to be the handles and wadded it up. And then I put it in here and I wetted it down really well. I'm going to soak some of that water off. And what I have now is some really soft clay. So what I can do is I can take this really soft clay and wipe it right across this seam that I scored. This is going to reinforce this, totally reinforce this connection point. And make it easy to sculpt in. See what I'm doing here? Let me do it this way. I'm just wiping this across, sculpting this in, covering up the seam. And it's super soft by doing that. All right. Now I'm going to put this back in. Slippery mess. Put that back in there and cover that. And then I want to clean this up a little. But that's going to secure that join super well. Get that all off my hands. Look like chocolate melted in my hands. Excuse me, not in my mouth. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna go off camera. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do. Oh, well, I dropped that rib, so I'm gonna use my little red rib. I don't want to dig the other one off the floor. So what I'm gonna do now is hold this in my hand and just run this up and over. And you won't even see where that seam was. That's, set this, bring that down I ran that right off of my rib. And it across here just like this. And when my rib gets full, just kind of rub that excess off of there. But I have a nice, good, healthy seam line here. I could see a little piece right there, so I just wiped some of that back off so I can no longer see the seam. Wipe that excess off and keep going. That also got rid of all those score marks I made when I was cementing that together. And oh, got a couple more to go. I have let this get not leather hard by any stretch of the imagination, but a good stiff, not soft leather, not hard leather, but a good medium in between leather hard, so that I can hold on to this and it's not squishy and I'm not distorting the shape at all. I'm on my last one. And I must have hit something up here. All right. So all these pieces that I took off of here while I was busy working instead of having to stop, I'll take that now. And I'm actually going to just sit it right here for a minute, just in case I need, if I run across any part of the seam that I see, I may want to work that. So I'm just going to kind of sponge this down. Can you see my octagon shape? Oh, this is cool. I'm not doing it hard. I'm just wiping it down. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. And I'm not pushing hard because I don't want to press this in and distort it. Put that on my sponge. Getting all the gooberies off. And if you see like spots that aren't coming off, you can just grab your rib and go right across with that, and that'll take care of it. It's going to look like we threw this. And they're going to want to know, how did we throw an octagon? Here we have it. All this stuff that you're seeing is the dots from the speckled. But here we have our octagon solid form. Wait for the next video and see what we're going to do with this.